Hello and welcome to the Angus Flexible Pipelines Wellmaster Installation Guide. This video is an introduction to the Wellmaster coupling components and tools. First, get all of your tools and components assembled. These are the Wellmaster coupling body, the Wellmaster coupling collar in 2 halves, 4 cap head screws, a rough file, Allen hex key, a normal wrench, a torque wrench, feeler gauges or gap gauges, and the Wellmaster installation manual. The Wellmaster hose has several markings on it: the correct size and the type, a unique serial number, and a meter mark at 1 meter intervals. Preparing the Wellmaster hose and fitting it to the coupling. In the field, the coupling body will be installed to the end of the pump or wellhead. First, insert the Wellmaster hose onto the end of the coupling. Applying pressure to either side of the Wellmaster opens the end to make it easier to push the Wellmaster onto the coupling. Make sure it butts up equally and squarely to the shoulder of the coupling. Do not use a lubricant, including water. Removing the strap. We need to file 100 mm smooth to attach the collar. Do not expose the jacket underneath, as this will damage the hose and cause it to fail. The strap is reinforced with yarn for additional strength. Every half meter has a black loop for the cable tie system. It is advisable to cut Wellmaster at the start of the loop to avoid this filing down process. Always have the strap facing up to remove. Using the rough file, begin to file it down. As you file down, you will expose the yarn, which is reinforcing the strap. Remove about 100 mm or 4 inches to the end of the coupling body. Be careful at the coupling ridge, as this is where it is easy to file into the Wellmaster jacket. Removing the strap reduces the stress point below the clamps once fitted. File until it is smooth. Fitting the coupling collars and initial tightening. The coupling collar is in 2 sections. Each collar is tapered with teeth cut into half of the inside surfaces of each collar. When putting the collar on, make sure the teeth go next to the shoulder of the coupling. Make sure the join of the collars is not where the strap is removed. Because the collar is tapered and the body of the coupling is tapered, it will have an effect on the gap where the collars meet. This is very important as it affects the torque applied to the fitting. Position the collar 12 to 15 mm away from the coupling. Position the top collar clamp first, then the bottom one. Insert the cap head screws. Each screw has a dry seal lubricant, which helps with binding and release if you need to remove them. Position each screw and slightly tighten them alternately to get the correct position using the normal wrench. You'll need to gradually tighten the screws, leaving an equal tolerance at each gap. Completing the fitting of the coupling and adjusting the torque. Here we will finish off attaching the collar to the hose and checking the torque, as well as the required gap between each collar and the coupling body. Ensure the torque limit is set correctly. Consult the Wellmaster installation manual for the required torque values. Set the torque wrench accordingly and continue tightening as previously, using small amounts for each screw. Tighten until you hear the wrench click, and once tightened, use the gap gauges or feeler gauges to measure the correct gap. The gap needs to be greater than 0.1 millimeters, ideally between 0.5 millimeters and 1 millimeter. This is related to the size of the Wellmaster being installed. Once the torque and gap are correct, you have successfully fitted a Wellmaster coupling. Troubleshooting. In this section, we ask the question, what if? So you've attached your Wellmaster to the coupling. So what happens if the gap is too big or closes up? If your gap is too small, remove the collars and reposition further up the taper towards the Wellmaster hose. This will increase the gap. If the gap is too big, remove the collar and reposition further down the taper towards the coupling shoulder. This will reduce the gap. As you remove the collar, you will see teeth marks from the original position of the fixing. Use these to help position the collar correctly the second time. As a rough guide, one tooth movement will change the gap by about 0.2 millimeters either side. Remember, do not change the torque setting, only change the position of the collar. Thank you for watching the Angus Flexible Pipeline Wellmaster Installation Guide.